My job can't really see only 1 to 3 or 5 years. We need to look ahead in 1 or 2 generations ahead. We talk about 40 years.
What did you say when you recruit them into your team? Come join us and predict the future.
Really like that. And they go like, huh? We normally talk about futures. With S, it's plural. One future is fortune teller, basically.
Multiverse.
Most comments I got back is, we don't even know what next year looks like, why 10 years. I'm trying to paint the scenario that you and I are going to live in. And I use that information, boil down and backcasting to design it today. I think there's 2 groups of people in the world. One is fear of missing out, which is FOMO. And the other one we call FOMO is fear of missing up. Firms around the world will fight to get on that youth talent. So that is something that somehow worry me a bit for the Thai talent. Today it's just the dawn of AI, just a very beginning. That's why I love my job. I have to do a
you
really
have a very
deep,
cool job.
Awesome job ever.
คว้าโอกาสล่าอนาคตล้วงอินไซต์ The Standard Economic Forum 2023 Future Ready Thailand เศรษฐกิจไทยไล่ล่าอนาคตรวมผู้นำระดับโลกและไทยกว่า 40 คนไว้ในงานเดียวพบกับเศรษฐาทวีสินบรรทุลล่ำซำเศรษฐพุทธสุทธิวาฒนฤพุทธสุรเกียรติเสถียรไทยสุประชัยเจียระวนนท์สุภวุฒิสายเชื้อกอบศักดิ์ภูตระกูลพยงศรีวณิชคัตยาอินทรวิชัยสมโพธิ์อาหุไนยธนาธรจึงรุ่งเรืองกิจฟาบริซิโอซาโคเน่พบกันวันที่ 23-25 พฤศจิกายน 2566 จัด 3 วันเต็มณศูนย์การประชุมแห่งชาติสิริกิติ์ซื้อบัตร Early Bird ราคา 2,500 บาทได้แล้ววันนี้ถึง 31 ตุลาคมเท่านั้น
This is Comedy Featuring. My name is Vic and welcome to the show. Our guest today has a very impressive job title and to tell you the truth, it almost sounds like a superpower to me. So is it like looking into the crystal ball and see the future? Is it like the power of premonition? Is it like having a sixth sense? So we'll find out about that on this episode. Our guest today, Dr. การดีเลียวไพโรจน์ or Dr. อ้อนะครับเป็นผู้อำนวยการบริหารศูนย์วิจัยอนาคตศึกษาหรือว่า a very impressive job title again, Chief Foresight Officer. Welcome to the show.
สวัสดีค่ะ Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you for giving us time and saying yes to this. Chief Foresight Officer. I think I have never seen people with this exact title before. Are you the first one in Thailand or are you the only one, should I say?
I'm not sure, but the foresight practitioner in Thailand has been around for quite some time.
I see.
Mostly in academia, do the research foresight, the future of the countries, future of the communities. But I would be proud to say that very rare case for us that we have the foresight officer in the private sectors.
So foresight has been around, like you said, for a while now. People might not know about this a lot. Yeah. And is it science? It is science, right?
It has to start with science, quantitative analysis, but that's not it. Otherwise, we're going to call more like a forecast, just like what we have been in school so far. But foresight would take a larger lens where the trends and the patterns that can measure quantitatively, but then you have to analyze something that you can't really explain doing the numbers. Opinions, the cultural change, the value shift, the wild cards or something happens. So actually it's a system, once you go on the process several times, you'll see that it's quite systematic. You start out, understand what's going on out there, learn from the past, so then we can predict the future. So it's more like, I would call it as a practice rather than a theory. Or the models or the math model that we're familiar as a forecasting technique in the past.
Okay, so you have to include a lot of things into this foresight business. So it's like science plus many things else.
Many things, arts, quantitative opinions and all others.
So obviously you cannot just do this by yourself. You have to have your team, right?
Yeah, I have to have my team.
Okay, so tell me about your team. Who else are in this team?
Well, diversity is a team is the most important for foresight practitioners. I myself from engineering school, from technology, I'm really pro technologies. If I do my foresight alone, everything is to be really technology driven. Everything is to be so good with technology.
All from your perspective.
All from my perspective,
Right.
because I'm a pro technology. But then reality, the society is much larger than that. We need to have people from different lens, from liberal arts, or even conventional arts, from psychologies, from other type of science, or from engineering technology, that for sure. But social studies is also important. My team comprises of medical doctor, psychologist, those from arts, and for those as I also start to study about the climate change. So variety is the key. But yet again, our team cannot even have a team doing that. The perspective of our team is not enough to cast out the scenario of the city either. We have to lend in as experts out there. So that's why I love my job. I have to do a
You
really
have a very
deep,
cool job.
Awesome job ever. I had to do deep thinking all by myself. Talk to friends, talk to the peers, talk to the experts. And the experts out there, it has to be, diversified in terms of the sense, the lens, the beliefs. So then they craft out the scenarios for the future.
I'm curious to know what did you say when you recruit them into your team? Like, come join us and predict the future together. Is that something along those lines?
Pretty much really like that. And they go like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
I figure, yeah. And what did you tell them next?
Well, my lab is housed in the MQDC, the private sectors who excel in real estate industries. So explain to them, this is what we do. I came from technology and strategy. My job can't really see only 1 to 3 or 5 years, because what we are about to build is real estate projects in the cities. So we need to look ahead in 1 or 2 generations ahead.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what we try to understand.
That's how many years?
Well, we talk about 40 years.
Wow.
40, 50 years is something that we're looking at. But I have to be honest, the further away that you look at, the less accurate you will be. So that's why we have to have someone as a day-to-day job, as a full-time job doing this, because we can't just complete as a foresighting project and done on your own. So it's more like a foresight, understand the scenarios. We drive the change in organizations. We also influence the change in our societies and the policy as well. So it's more like a day-to-day, and we learn as we go.
I see.
So whatever we did the analysis 5 years ago may not be the same thing today, because a lot of stuff happened. COVID happened as a wild card.
Yeah.
The war, even the war from last night, is also the wild cards for us. So we need to take that back in, reanalyze it, and recast our scenarios.
So basically, even though we know that the longer we try to predict, the inaccurate it could be, right? The more inaccurate it could be. But we have to do it anyway. So it has to be in our plan. So you plan in order to change it along the way.
Correct. That's correct. And the most part is when we craft our scenarios likely to be the significant output of foresight process. Is looking at scenarios. If there anything change, we change. But more important thing is that if we see that the future is not what we want, for example, our world is dystopian. We don't want it to be like that. It's our job right now to make change right today, not wait until that happens.
I see.
So I think foresight, the most meaningful part is not just the outcome that we try to communicate, but also the action as of today that we're going to build the preferable futures for our next generations.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like my job is very meaningful.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we now can kind of see the options. What can we do to like steer our future into the preferable one?
Right. That precisely. What else do we need to change today? What else do we need to stop doing it today? I think the most part that people would be interested. I think the standard talk about this a lot, which is a climate crisis.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think this is a main theme thing that everybody, every industries, everyone else in the whole world will encounter in that bad scenarios. So that come down to us. What else can we do to prevent, to slow it down, or even reverse the effect?
Yeah. So it's something that we need to prevent from happening. It's something that we want to try to make it happening together. Right. So when we're talking about like the future, there's a lot of things, right? I assume that you might have to have some sort of like strategy of priorities. Like what do we tackle first, and what can't wait? Do you have something like that?
Yeah, we do have that metrics as well. But Vivek got it right. When we talk about the future, we normally talk about futures with S. It's plural. So it's different futures. It can't be one future. One future is fortune teller, basically. Right?
Okay.
This is what it's going to be next year.
Yeah.
But foresight process will come up with numbers of future.
Multiverse.
Okay.
Now we're talking Marvel.
I like that.
But basically it's the same idea, right?
Yeah.
Like possibilities.
Yeah, or basically alternative realities that we might see.
Ooh, even cooler.
That's exactly. So come down to what we take action now. Once we understand the possibilities, I think we can put into two metrics, which is very simple. One is the impact's going to happen. The other one is probability. So what we can identify as high probability and high impact, we're going to act now. Do the strategy right down to the companies and BU. On the other hand, high probability and low impact, we're going to keep watching it. Maybe we'll keep watching it. The other one is low probability and high impact. Something that we're going to really prevent and try to, we look at it and we prepare ourselves. But for those that low probability and low impact, I'll say, well, I'll do it later. I'll later time, we'll revisit this. So this is how at least we prioritize what we need to do in the pie chart of futures that we have.
So futurology, is that how you call it?
Yes.
Futurology, the science of predicting the future, basically. Where do I sign up to? If I want to become someone like you or to work in your field, and right now I'm about to choose my major.
All right.
What do I do?
I think any major from bachelor's degrees would work. One I would recommend is to sign up or take courses from the certified Foresight Institute. That would give you the sense, the idea of the process and the frameworks look like. But I don't think we have seen the bachelor degrees of future foresight, which I don't think we should have that. We should have the lawyer together. We should have the key areas that you really excel, and then top up with the foresight skills, and that is possible. There's numerous online resources right now. The one that we are partnering with EdHec Universities, which is the partner with us, and also National Innovation Agency Thailand as well.
So to give you the foresight skills, is that what you said?
Foresight frameworks.
Okay.
See, to me, foresight is there's a framework so you can practice. The more you practice, the more you open to information. That's how skills comes up. So I think the key question is what will be the fundamental skills for people who to do foresight. I think number one, you have to have curiosity. You have to curious.
Big one, yeah.
If this happened, and what's next? And what we call as a web of impact. Something happened, how it's gonna create a wave of impact throughout. Could be the societal one, could be technology, or even the beliefs and values.
So this would work big time if you have a curious mind.
Yes.
So this might be something for you. Yeah, maybe you should look into this. Okay, all right. Can we go back a little bit to your own story and your own path? I was wondering. So you had a background in engineering.
Yes.
At which point that this turned into let's see into the future. What happened, or what changed it? What helps you pivot?
I think this opportunity that I get to do research for United Nations about 15 years ago. Man, it's so long. You guys born yet? Well, actually, from technology engineering school, yes. And then most of my work is analytics, and also the strategy. At one point, I think I feel like it's a tipping point. Southeast Asia, ASEAN is about to form. And a lot of research tried to look at what would be the next generation, new generation of ASEAN. And also I got the grant to do the research for the DTGO groups. What would be the future look like for the cities? So that marked my curiosities. What else can I do if I hold the forecasting models, mathematics? So that comes down to the point that I explore foresight. So that's how the tipping point of my career right there, so, which I feel very unfortunate for this opportunity.
Can you help us foresee the future of foresight in Thailand? How do you think this is going to get more and more popular, or can you yourself change the popularity of this? And what do you want to see more in terms of this foresight?
I think foresight practice in Thailand has become well aware in the past years, pretty much, from National Innovation Agency, which I partner with, or the organization which I sit at the board of Electronic Transaction Development Agencies. So that's a government area. They see the importance of foresight because they will be able to see as a broader perspective and then boil it down to the strategy of year to year. And I see a lot of movement from university, college, and also the private sector start to adopt the foresight methodology when they draft out that strategy. Because they know, sometimes when they said foresight in the long term, 10 years, most comments I got back is, you don't even know what next year looks like, 10 years, right? So I'm not trying to forecast your number of sales. I'm trying to paint the scenario that you and I, going to live in. And I use that information, boil down and backcasting to design it today. So I think it's going to be well received. Would like to join on. We need to know more.
Yeah.
Would love to know more foresight practitioner around here.
Right. I think basically it's because things are changing like crazy these days, right? So we were doing so fine in 2018, 2019, and then COVID happened and it changed everything, and we cannot see the future anymore because we used to think that we were somehow able to kind of see the future, right?
Yeah.
If I study this and then I continue on my path, I'm going to become that. But not so much anymore. Yeah. So I was wondering what the future, especially of the workforce, would look like. And this is something that you would be a part of, the panel on the Standard Economic Forum happening this year in 2023 in November, and you'll be talking about this, the future of workforce, right? Yeah.
It's a huge issue, to be honest. When we talk about workforce, most people automatically think about, that's this topic for those students about to graduate. No, it's actually me as well. We get a stake in the future of workforce. What we talked about, we see the diversity of workforce will be very different, very multinational, multicultural, working together. Number
from
two,
anywhere.
From anywhere.
Yeah.
From anywhere. Number two, the war for youth talents will be even more intense. Majority of the world are going to aging society. Asia for sure. Thailand, yes, it is. Except some part of the world is like Africa. So the people are aging, but youth is just very small number. They come up with the new tools and new talents. So firms around the world will fight to get on that youth talents. So that is something that somehow worry me a bit for the Thai talents, the Thai youth, because they're fusing and they try to pulling out from anywhere in the world. No, it's not the demographic that's gonna give you the competitive advantage. You can just be anywhere. The next one as a trend, I think. Hybrid work, it just only begins. So it's not just about hybrid work anymore. So it's going to become a norm as we know it. But the way that we manage our workforce, we manage our talents, will be very different from the past. So
we're not together with them physically. And how do we, even though we're together physically, it's already hard.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
But how can we manage them remotely?
That way we have to be a way. And that is a key challenges that all organizations will have to work on. I am the recruiter myself for the team that going to our companies. Guess what? When I said, blah, 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 when we do the interview, any questions, they were likely to ask, as a first question. Do I have to come to the office?
Yeah.
You don't
Ask
have
that.
to every day, but we would love to see you sometimes. The next one is the well-being focus. See the younger Gen Z, for example, they're growing up in such a technology is everywhere. Everything is easy. They have their own ways to solve their problems. So the elders like me should not force them out to do exactly the same thing as I did 30 years back. But that's the key. They like to seek out the solutions. Most people would say the laziest way to solve the problem. But for them, it's a way they use technology to solve the problem and leave the rest to build the well-being of this individual.
So I think now we're talking global. It has to be the global talk that we have to focus on. But I imagine there are a lot of people, actually, I don't even have to imagine. I've heard people saying things like, don't compare and don't compete. We don't have to compare ourselves to anybody else because we are living in a very different society and we just don't compete with guys from other countries. Just compete among ourselves. That's it. Just achieve this first and then we talk global later. Do you agree?
Boy, if this is my daughter, I can just like slap her just a bit. Well, no, I disagree, to be honest. I think we are to the point that competition is much intense. So not about people here or there, but it's about people here which just have the different abilities. I just came back from the AI summit about a couple months back. The thing that they're really discussing is we talk about the workforce who has AI as a co-pilot.
Yeah.
And those person who don't know how to use AI at all. So we're not talking about people compete to you and I, different countries. We are talking about in two different group of people, completely in different world. One bound to be a superhuman. We can do anything, can think fast, or even do the genetic editing or something that can be better. The other one that can't really access any technology, good quality technology at all, let alone how to use the AI. We talk about the competition between the superhuman and the useless class.
Yeah.
You probably have read that book. So this would worry me.
It's like you have to catch up with the trends. You have to catch up with the world that is pacing very fast into the future right now. And if you stand still, or even if you're moving forward, but at your own regular speed, you can't catch up with anybody at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think the ability come down to that. What would be the key skills for the future? I think the ability to learn new things is, to me, is the most important.
Yeah. We've been talking about relearn, unlearn, and stuff like that. So it is so true.
It is so true. Yes.
Yeah.
For my age, I have to unlearn a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, me too. Same here. Yeah.
Well, a lot of executive peers, you have to vow something early on the year. You need to unlearn something, and you need to relearn something new.
Yeah.
That is very important.
That is if you still want to stay relevant.
Exactly.
If you still want to be a part of the society, right? Yeah, you have to understand the need. Why? Because I can imagine there might be two groups of people, right? One group, the first group, would be like, oh, this is so exciting. I'm ready to learn everything and I'm ready to learn every day.
Yes, bring it on, baby.
Yeah, while the other group might be like, oh man, what I have just learned yesterday, it doesn't apply today. What the hell? So yeah, what would you say to the second group of people and how can we help them? Or should we just leave them be or what?
No.
No. Okay.
No. Let's move.
Okay.
I think there's two group of people in the world. One is fear of missing out, which is FOMO. And the other one we call FOMO is fear of messing up. So this fear of messing up is like, oh no, I'm okay the way it is. It's just fine, just moved on. But then I think a lot of stuff to realize that we can't catch up. We're gonna get totally far behind. So today I think if we talk about the workforce and AI, I would say today it's just the dawn of AI, just a very beginning. So let's join on, understand them, know the pros and cons. There are lots of cons as well. So then we will be more ready. For any change in the world. Start with young kids, my daughter's school. I mean, I'm very proud of it. I talked about it everywhere. Assignment of my 12 years old kids is log on OpenAI, have an account there, and type the problem statement. All the kids in the class type the same thing and bring to class and debate. And I think this is the way that we should get our young kids understand right from wrong, prevent themselves from fraud, prevent themselves from the digital pollutions or misinformation in the future. But if you shut them away at this age, at this time, I think they're going to let far behind. And end of the day, we're going to become the victim rather than not even the good users.
Because they're not going to have the immunity that they need.
Yes, that's right.
And how old is your daughter?
The little one is 12. The bigger one is 21.
Okay, so the 12-year-old one,
yeah.
They started AI already. Yes. Started like learning and understanding AI.
Yes, they started to understand AI. The school teach online ethics. This is called what we call bully. This is what we're not supposed to do. This is wrong stuff. This is suspicious. So this is what the young kids are learning. And at the same time, adults should learn too.
Yeah. Okay. So I really want to talk to you about the AI stuff because every time we talk about AI, something comes up, which is the jobs that would go obsolete. Like, yeah, right? You've heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so do we have any updates on like what jobs, what more jobs would be obsolete because of AI?
Well, anything that will be repetitive, do the same thing every day, likely to be obsolete because there's something else or, the tools can do faster. But I always encourage my colleagues, it doesn't mean that you're going to be outdated. But if you know how to use the tools, it's going to be much better and easier. And you start out with the day that we have Excels, now we have the automations that we understand the whole receipt and translate everything into, you don't have to type in and then, but you need to act as an auditor. So it's more like a change of the skills.
Exactly. It's like this clever tool would help you become better.
Yeah.
So AI is practically like the computer in the old days, right?
I talked to one of the main house cleaning lady, the cleaning lady in the Shanghai airport in Singapore.
Right.
So there's a bot to clean the floor, right?
Yes.
So I talked to her. That was like, I think 7 years ago. It's long enough, and I working on ASEAN. I talked to that lady. So I asked her, "Do you feel threat with these bots because they can clean, they don't complain, they don't have full, overtime fee whatsoever." That lady struck me very hard, and she said, "No, not at all, because these bots do the job that I can do, and now I become their supervisor." And I was
Exactly.
like, "Thank you. That's just like hallelujah."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we know our roles in the world of AI.
Correct.
Like you said before, they're our co-pilots, but we're still the pilots.
We're
right?
still the pilot. We have to be the pilot. And
We have to be.
You open the new Pandora box because if we are not the pilot, a lot of scary stuff can happen. And that's a whole conversation that futurists are talking about the AI right now. So,
Yeah. So are you guys talking a lot about the threat of like the AI become like the master of humanity and then just keep us as slaves in the future and stuff like that?
There is scenarios, even though don't do anything. And that is, I think, the key reason why regulators around the world that relate to technology, AI, like to talk to each other. A lot of stuff, the law has come out. For example, if you do the medical diagnosis, AI cannot just make decisions. It has to go through human. Or the court of law, you write out the legal documents. You can't just not use AI. You have to be signed off by human to see right from wrong. What we scared, what we worried is the amount of data right now to create the output is heavily biased. For example, you don't really find the source of data in Thai as much as in English. So the way that you ask OpenAI for anything, it's come out as a Western context, not the Thai context.
I see.
Unless you have to put a lot of inputs in there. So bias is happening right there. And also biases come from the past data. Well, see, I'm foresight. You can't rely just past data to bring the future, but you can just utilize it in somewhat, but not the whole of them. If you have the records of the criminals look like this, so if we can easily translate that, the one that look criminally will be criminal, which is not, right?
Yeah.
And diversity of the developer of AI still need to cry out.
Right.
Most are guys, from elite school.
Yeah.
Now we are, calling for women's, transgenders, or all kind of diversity to be part of the AI developers to make sure that it's not heavily biased in some point.
Yeah, because I've just seen this interview from people from OpenAI, and one thing that they said about the latest version of the AI or ChatGPT is that they didn't even expect this to be this clever. So that's the scary part for me.
Yes.
Like we can't even fathom or imagine how smart and complex it could be. The complex thing is
complex one, yes.
We human have that.
Yes.
But now AI
Emotion.
does too?
And emotion. Now AI start to have emotion.
Wow.
I went to AI for Good Summit in Geneva in July. That shocked me big time because I was expecting to see, some bots in AI, question and answer,
Right.
But this is they look like human. It's just like you're watching the sci-fi movie, but it's actually in real life.
I see.
The whole point is the bot can make facial expression. They're sad, they're angry, they're curious, and at the same time, the answer that comes out is completely very near human. Yes.
Wow.
That's what. Well, I'm a pro technology, but I'm starting to worry.
Yeah, but that's all the more reasons for us to study and try to understand it more. And the earlier you start, I think the safer the humankind will be in the future. So I can't help but think that besides the future of workforce, a lot of things would definitely change and into something completely new. For example, the thing that we usually do, we go through all the pathom, elementary, and then high school, university, and then we go job hunt. Maybe in the future, kids from junior high or middle school, high school, they might not even pursue university education anymore. How do you see the future of education?
Thank you for asking these questions. I am a very liberal mom. I think every day if my daughter said, well, I don't need university, what would I say? Right?
Yeah.
I was a professor in university before. And now my 12 years old asked me exactly that question.
Really?
Do I have to go to university? Can I do my job now and then can I just learn stuff and as I go and make a living? What should I answer?
I don't know. What did you tell her?
Well, if it's เป็นลูกคนอื่น if someone else kids, I say, yeah, good job. But this is my daughter, man.
Right.
It's Miji, you know what? University is not so bad because if you're interested on something in particular, it might be good. See the thing, I have a conflict myself in the answer. If it's someone else kids, I say, good job, you're smart.
I imagine,
But this is my daughter. I have to think hard. Okay,
so that's you wearing mom's hat now?
Which is different, right?
Yeah.
So my answer is these levels of education will remain for a long, long time.
Okay.
But the way we learn, the way they teach, the way that we gain knowledge will be different. So the settings and the systems, it's just like any systems. It's hard to break. But there will be alternatives. There will be alternatives. For example, in the just past couple of years, we understand that, gap year for the high school kid is okay. We never heard that before when we were in Mohawk.
I know, yeah.
We have to do the entrance exam.
Right,
That's how old
right
I am.
away.
Entrance exam.
And when we finish our bachelor, right away we have to go job hunt.
Correct. So now it's different. I have the youngest intern is only 13 years old.
Oh my God.
Darn. She come and say, ask for job. I said, okay, are you sure that you're going to be my intern? I can't be your babysit.
And a 13-year-old would be in what grade?
ม.1
Oh God.
ม.1 ม.2 Yeah.
And that's a voluntarily internship?
Just to be with me and then just to understand how it works. But turn out she can do, the presentation PowerPoint is very creatively. I see of all kinds from high school before they make decisions, which major that they want to do, they ask for an internship. So our company was kind of said, okay, bring it on to see how it goes. Very impressive.
Wow.
So I would see the system would not change quickly, but the ingredients, the stakeholders will find a way, just like these kids. I even see further away when the data platform is come to full blows. Everybody here can be citizen scientists, citizen data scientists, where you don't need to know how to code, but you are the one who actually audit whether this is the right data to move on forward using just only your mobile phones. Wow. So I see that one coming. I see the rise of online class, where my bigger one, 21 years old, she studied online class before she chose the major universities. So to know in which area that she likes to. So that gives us opportunity. For us, we never know until we got into the third year with like almost retired grade, like 2.0 ก็ไม่รอดเลยกัน ก็ต้องไปละอะไรกัน
ยุคเราอะทุกอย่างเป็นท่าบังคับหมดเลย You have no choice
บังคับเลือก
no
so you're
options
forced to choose something that's in the
เลือกอย่าง
system
เลือกบังคับอีก What yeah
So,
totally
but that's more choices for them to choose.
Right.
So there will be, and from the demand side, there will be more acceptance of something unconventional, meaning that you don't have to have complete degree of bachelor, master, and PhD to get something. So on the one who accept you as a workforce, will be more open to try out. So I think it's gonna change both sides, both supply and demand.
Yeah, because I can imagine there might be a lot of, maybe they exist already, like companies that don't take a look at your like GPA or just show me the work.
Which is true, right? When I interview, I hardly look at the GPA. I look at what they did outside school.
Exactly.
Because for my belief is learning ability is the most important thing. Meaning that, for example, I do the interview when I was in Thammasat University, so for BBA, it's an international school. There are two kids. One kid from ต่างจังหวัด from other provinces, never been outside the country. The other kid has been fortunate enough to be in the United States for 1 or 2 years. These two interview, pretty much the same accent of English, pretty much grammatically correct. Which one would you choose? I choose the น้องต่างจังหวัด because it shows this ability of learning is high.
Of course.
Right? And so I asked him, how did you learn English? He said, he never been in other countries. We learned from movie, from radios, and that's it. This is the guy.
That's even more amazing than kids who get put in the environment where you can automatically and naturally learn the language. But this shows like
He has ability to learn.
Yeah.
And strive to be better.
Speaking of which, how do you learn your English? Because your English is perfect.
Oh,
it's so great. Yeah. How do you get to talk like this?
I'm proud to say I'm from Thai school, from เตรียมอุดมศึกษาพัฒนาการ And then I'm fortunate enough to spend 1 year in the United States and high school year and graduate from that. And that's how
AFS เหล่านั้นไหมครับ
แต่ไม่ใช่
exchange program
exchange program
I see
คือ just go to a really remote place in America.
It's always like that, right?
It was like that, yes. But then most part I would have to admit I learned from movies, from music. I copy whatever said. แล้วก็เวลาเราพูดภาษาไทยพูดภาษาอังกฤษเราต้องกระแดะหน่อย
You're not afraid to be called กระแดะ I think it's a part of learning because you don't just want to know the word, but you want to know the way they convey the word.
Because I realized when I get that for the first time when I was 16 years old, if you talk just that's exactly the way that I talk in high school, no one would understand it. You have to put blah blah blah.
Yeah. Because the end result is we understand each other. People understand us. So we have to do whatever it takes for them to understand and feel like we are part of their group. So yeah, that's important too. So besides being abroad for only 1 year?
1 year and then come back for Thammasat University.
Yeah.
And then went back there again for
and then you kind of
my grad school.
basically self-taught for the rest.
Yeah, it's more like a practice every day.
Okay.
Well, I have to credit my parents, to be honest. I think I learned English after school at British Council. Since very young, I was the youngest one right there. I begged the teacher to get into class because I like English, and I think this is the way to open doors of knowledge out there. So that's what I believed.
Wow, this is amazing.
Thank you.
Do you do anything like special, or do you have any like tips and tricks to share? Like do this and then you like improve
You mean English language?
English language.
Well, read a lot and don't be afraid of foreigners. Just go talk to them and then you learn something. Like today I learned something from my daughters as well. Like language is different. So that's a tip. So don't be afraid. Just try it out.
Okay. So we were talking about the language, we were talking about AI. So let's combine them. Do you think it is still be a very important thing for a human to learn the language? Now that we have a very smart tool to help us with like communication, maybe we don't need like to learn by ourselves anymore, but just learn how to use the tool like ChatGPT, AI, or whatever. Do you think it's still important for us to learn the foreign language?
The foreign language, I think, to me, I think it's still important, but not as critical as before because you have the tools. But I would rather use the tools to be the one to help you learn faster. Another day, even though the AI would, occupy a lot of stuff, they can translate simultaneously, even over the conference call we have. But once you get into the people, and that will be a very luxury interaction in the future, face-to-face meeting. So that's something that you should be able to communicate. But I see the future of language quite different, where I feel like this is one of my analysis too, is besides top languages will be the most popular in the world, has the largest population to talk, English for sure, Mandarin for sure, Spain is still there. But I think we are in such the time that we are creating a universal language where different background would understand the same thing. So that's what I would say. If you take a peep on your children playing games online with your friends, it's like they talk codes, man. They don't talk language. A lot of abbreviations that moms like me don't understand. ใช่ปะ ตอนนี้ LOL now I know laugh out loud. What else อะไรนะ Tyson, right? Thank you so much.
Oh, okay.
TYSM.
I didn't know that one. I've seen it written, but not like spoken in conversation.
Yeah, that's like come out to be because I talked to my daughter's friend, Mommy Tyson. Like I like Tyson. I like a Tyson.
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter translates. Thank you so much, and a whole lot more that I can't really explain. That it felt like they talk codes, but this is the kind of common language that they built in the game culture.
Yes.
Across the language you're speaking, Thai, English, or Japanese, or whatsoever.
So it's not from which country are you from, but do you play this game?
Do you play this game?
If you do, we speak the same language.
Correct.
Wow.
So that's something that I need to understand, and we have to analyze more what the future language look like. But we see that they might reach some common somewhere that you probably don't need to talk Shakespeare. You communicate to get by, to be able to communicate will be the most important thing.
Yeah, I think it's still a privilege to, like you said before, the face-to-face conversation, the human connection that cannot be replicated easily, I think, by machine or by the cleverest artificial intelligence.
Right.
That would be our privilege, and we do still need that skill of communication,
right,
in case we need to.
But things are much easier. I must stress on this. You probably don't need to talk Oxford English or to people to understand.
Right.
But you need to speak English so then you can communicate. So I think the environments will shape up to be much easier. But speaking about the luxury, we are living in a technology, and my age or my years or the senior one said technology is luxury. But we talk about Gen Z, Gen Alpha today. They said technology is baseline. Real luxury is digital detox, somewhere that you can immerse yourself in the nature, or something that you can go away from the data, or that's some place that you can have your pure privacy, not rely on technology. That will be luxurious terms in the future.
It is so much fun talking to you, and this is the first time I talk to a futurist, and I have to say I want to have more conversation with more futurists or with you again if you would be so kind to come back to the show sometime. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. The honor is mine. Thank you for having me.